Welcome, welcome, Yah Royal family. Blessings, family. Pray all is well. I want to give honor to the Almighty, the Most High, unto His Son, Yeshua, unto the Ruach, the Holy Spirit. I want to give a shout out to my brothers and sisters out on the forefront who's sharing this truth. Yes. Good morning, everybody. House representatives order a Pentagon to investigate whether ticks were once used as biological weapons. Imagine this, you all. Just want to bring you some headlines on this morning that, as I was just looking through, amazing that, they're actually coming to a place that they believe that it's possible that they have put out insects and ones that could be used. And this is actually hitting more surface of as far as when it comes to Lyme disease. So we're going to play this video here.
Carrie hunting ticks, tracing the carriers of Lyme disease.
This is not a black-legged pig. It looks almost exactly like a black-legged pig.
4 years ago, he felt a bite.
5 days later, I had this strange fatigue and some general malaise, and I had these swollen lymph nodes on the side of my neck.
The diagnosis, Lyme disease. The Centers for Disease Control estimates that every year there are approximately 300,000 cases. It says 95% of those occur in just 13 states, all of them in the Northeast and Upper Midwest.
Deer ticks exist in southern states. They don't really bite humans like the northern ones do. So there may be other factors why, even though the deer ticks exist in southern states and some of them even carry the bacteria that causes Lyme disease, we don't see many cases of human Lyme disease.
But Clark was exploring in Georgia. He was bitten, and he says there's plenty of evidence. Lyme is not so rare in the South.
Over time, is just kind of being self-reinforced that we don't have it here, it's rare to not exist in the South, and this sort of thing. And then doctors were educated and indoctrinated into that belief. And so even when they see it, they don't recognize it.
Other experts are starting to agree. Lyme disease is spreading.
But Lyme disease does occur in many other states. So the question is not whether Lyme disease exists in the southeast or the south central United States. It certainly does. The question is, how much of a public health problem is it?
Scientists believe the disease will keep moving south, in part because of the changes in climate.
They send me my data files.
Clark's doctor put him on a course of antibiotics, and his symptoms did go away. But they came back just 2 months later.
One day I developed a headache, and it was a migraine severity type headache. It came on immediately, and it stayed for 3 weeks. I had pressure in my head, neck stiffness, and other things like that.
While a majority of patients with Lyme disease see their symptoms go away after an initial course of antibiotics, another 10 to 20% have symptoms that linger. Some, like Clark, end up taking antibiotics for months at a time.
When carefully studied, where antibiotics long-term have been compared to placebo, we don't see any effect.
The CDC told us the lasting symptoms are real, but they're probably due to nerve damage, not a lingering infection. But others say that issue isn't settled.
We also know from animal models that there are situations when the pathogen, the Lyme bacterium, does persist. So I think that the potential for the Lyme disease pathogen to persist following standard antibiotic treatment is reasonably high, and it probably is occurring in some Lyme disease patients.
Clark is hoping the answer may lie in some of these ticks he's rounding up, that understanding them better could spare patients all over a lot more pain.
So there you have it. Very interesting for them, to even make this into an article, but more interesting for them also to look at it that it can be a biological weapon. So what this person, they didn't mention in here in the video, is that he ordered an investigation into whether the Department of Defense, whether they're experimenting with this or have experimented with it. And it says in an amendment passed last week, the House calls the Defense Department Inspector General to look at whether any such experiments were done between the years of 1950 to 1975. So why that timeline is so, important there. So what scripture comes to mind, and I will paraphrase, I don't have it before me, is when it says the Almighty going to put out, different things, on the earth, like insects, and one where from that you see with the teeth and the hair will actually just devour someone, for what I want to say, was it 5 years, if I'm not mistaken. I may have it wrong, but that put me in the reminding me of that. So it says the amendment was introduced by New Jersey Rep. Chris Smith, who said he was inspired to write it by a number of books and articles suggesting that significant research had been done at United States government facilities. So, it's something that they know they would not be putting this forth, and especially in a news article. It says, if it's true, what were the parameters of the program? Who ordered it? Was there any accidental release anywhere or at any time of the disease ticks? The most common disease spread by ticks is Lyme disease, which can cause multiple symptoms, including fever, muscle aches, joint pain, rash, and facial paralysis. If left untreated, it could lead to arthritis, nervous system problems, heart problems, according to the Center of Disease Control and Prevention. Each year, there are nearly 30,000 cases of Lyme disease are reported to the CDC, which also says that more than 300,000 people are diagnosed with disease each year. In 2017, a total of 42,743 confirmed and probable cases of Lyme disease were reported to CDC, 17% more than in 2016, according to the agency. So if the Pentagon investigation finds that the Defense Department weaponized Lyme disease and tick, the amendment calls for a report on the scope of the experiment and whether the insects used were released outside of any laboratory by accident or experiment design. So this is deep. I mean, literally, just the thought pattern, how ones, take on and do things. But to me, it just automatically take me to the scripture of what's to come and how this actually will affect, the earth of the ones that will be considered like the 2/3 and in the manner with this. So it's just something I wanted to bring forth, and I guess they will have more reportings on it. I'm surprised, when I saw it immediately, I was like, what? So let me take your attention to another, what I want to talk about this morning as well is the 2/3 of U.S. will bake. So, as you see here is many articles talking about the expected to bake 2/3 of the nation throughout the weekend. So this is coming from a heat wave that is going to hit 2/3 of America. And I found that interesting. I'm like, wow. And then I also saw something where it says about remnants. And, these words stick out because of, far as, reading the Bible and knowing, what the Almighty has said. So we're going to go in a little closer at the NBC News report. And as you can see here, it says high temperature caused by a large dome of high pressure will send temperatures into the 90s and 100s in many parts. So, I'm from the South. I'm used to and have been used to heat getting up to, I would probably, I'll play it so y'all can hear what she's talking about.
This morning, from parks in the Midwest,
feels like you can't breathe,
to fire stations in the Northeast,
hydrate, hydrate, hydrate,
and everywhere in between, millions of people are bracing for searing summer heat.
We figure hot weather is going to come, and all of a sudden it's just smacking us in the face a little bit.
Dozens of cities, including Detroit, Chicago, and Washington, D.C., all expected to reach their hottest temperatures of the year sometime this week. In fact, by Saturday, nearly 229 million people across 40 states will feel that summer swelter with heat indexes hotter than 100 degrees. Enough to go from discomfort to downright dangerous.
How extreme are these temperatures for this time of the summer?
Right. Not just the one day, but it's the cumulative effect that we see. So if we're just going to be hot one day, that's one thing. But the day after day, that's when we start to see the danger in folks, that cumulative effect.
That's why volunteers with Cool Down St. Louis are on a life-saving mission.
Miss Mays!
Installing nearly 1,000 AC units across Missouri and Illinois this summer.
So, Miss Mays, how hot does it get in here?
Well, it feels like it's already 100 degrees.
With heat like this, the best tip is to stay out of it. But experts say if you do have to be outside, limit your physical activity and drink plenty of water. Don't just wait until you're thirsty, because by then you could already be dehydrated.
And guys, right now, Missouri is one of at least 11 states that are under an excessive heat warning today through Saturday, and that number is only expected to grow. Craig and Savannah.
All right, Blaine Alexander starting us off in St. Louis. Thanks, Blaine.
Some good tips there. Let's focus in now on just how hot it is going to get and how long that heat's going to last. Dylan's in for Al this morning. Dylan, what's the word?
Good morning. It's going to get very hot and it's going to last for a long time. Look at all the heat advisories, the heat watches, the warnings, all through the middle of the country and also along the I-95 corridor from New Jersey right down into South Carolina. Looking at the numbers today, again, we have to factor in the humidity, but the actual air temperature on the thermometer, it'll read 101 today in Wichita, but it'll feel like 108. Kansas City, 99, feels like 106. St. Louis will feel like 104 today. On Thursday, it continues to push to the east. Temperatures will be well up into the 90s. It'll feel like it's in the triple digits. And then going into Friday, too, we are looking for the heat to continue to expand. Washington, D.C. will feel like 104 on Friday, 106 in Raleigh, 108 in Cincinnati. And Detroit will feel like 109 degrees. Then as we go into Saturday, there is the chance that the actual air temperature could get up to 100 degrees, which in New York City, that's the first time that's happened since 2012. But when you factor in the humidity, it could feel like 110 on Saturday, 105 on Sunday. Same story for Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., down through Richmond, even up into Boston. It could feel like 106 degrees on Saturday. So we are looking at potential high temperatures in all these areas, all through New Jersey, all up across New England, and down through parts of Ohio and down into Virginia as well. So it is going to be record-breaking heat and just brutally uncomfortable. Savannah?
Yeah, it's going to be a big story for the next few days, Dylan. Thank you.
Wow. So that tells you the earth is heating up, and I think this is by mere design in ways that this is all in the Almighty's hand. I put all in his hand. I believe all things in his hand. So just to give you some, for us to look at it, but when that 2/3, it just automatically, I said 2/3, for them to actually use that, that's, I'm going to take your attention to another area where I want to, it's about this flying, they said flying man. He's actually flying around the air. I don't know if y'all saw it from France. And I know America probably saying, well, why we didn't come up with that first? Let's see if it's, from France. It's already out there. So, this man is flying around, like a hoverboard. He did it for some type of, let me see if it's gonna, let me go over. So, far as for the French, he was hovering and going all over for this parade that was actually in there in France. And so what does this say to us and to the whole world in general, that this was what was said, that is, they looking at that this could be a way to combat. And I wonder, is that a gun he got in his hand? Let's go in a little closer at this one right here. Independent news. Let's see what's going on with them. It's waiting for a moment for it to update. I'm going to go ahead and take so it's going to get even to where as so many news out there, it's not going to be enough news outlets to even bring the news. So, as the Almighty leads me to do, I had so many other things I was doing before I came into this truth, and He shifted me. So we'll see how that I will be more on a regular basis, be bringing things out that ones may not see it according